Hello friends, one of the most fascinating episodes in Regensburg was after the expulsion in 1520. Charles V eventually becomes the emperor. He inherits it from his grandfather, and he gets very angry at the people of Regensburg. He says, "Why did you get rid of the Jews? And you lost me a sizable income. You used the time when my grandfather died to get rid of the Jews. So you have to fill up my coffers." So the Gentiles said, "Okay, we'll do that, but on condition, we'll even add more onto it, on condition that you write us a letter that the Jews have no right to live in Regensburg forever and ever." And he wrote up such a letter, and believe it or not, Charles V was a very interesting guy. Here he gave permission to stay, and here he gave permission not to stay. But here you see that he had one thing in mind. This Charles V, his own pocket, his own coffers. Yeah, in Spain and all these places, he let the Jews go. But here in Germany, he gave privileges for certain Jews. He didn't let them expand. Now, one of the famous Jews living at the time was a Stadler called Yosselman of Losheim. And Regensburg played a big role because we know that there was a Diet of Speyer, 1530, where Charles V, we spoke about it in a different video, how he gives the privileges to the Jews and that a special tax was made on them. But in 1532 he was called to Regensburg to sit, because here was the Diet of Regensburg in 1532, and the Reichstag in Regensburg, and he was invited. While he was here, he got wind and he heard of a rumor, which was true, that the Reuveini and Shlomo Molcho, they're both coming to Regensburg to plead their case. They failed. Let's start the story. Yeah, the Reuveini got permission from the Pope, a letter of recommendation that he can the king should support him in gathering an army to fight the Turks, take back Jerusalem from the hands of the Muslims. Ridiculous idea. This Shlomo Molcho, while he was in Portugal, and this Reuveini was there to ask the King of Portugal to sponsor his mission. Shlomo Molcho, a converso Jew, converso. He nevertheless he was very inspired by this Reuveini. He actually made a bris milah on himself, and he converted back. He became a full-fledged Jew. Now he became very famous because he predicted two world events. He became a big Kabbalist, and he predicted there'll be an earthquake in a certain year, and then in Rome, and there's going to be a flood in some other place, and it both happened to be true. So even the Gentiles, they held him as a saint or a godly man. So Reuveini and him were up here. So he decided if it didn't happen in Portugal, he's going to go find Charles V, King of Spain, and also the King of the Holy Roman Empire. Maybe he's going to help him in his quest to found an army that he has back home. Reuveini claimed that he had a brother that has an army. He just doesn't have modern tanks, modern equipment. That he should fund it and take back the Holy Land from the hands of the Muslims. So they come all the way here, this Reuveini and Molcho, and Yosselman hears that they're coming, so he sends a letter to them. Shouldn't bother because he knows Charles V very well. Their mission is going to fail terribly. If they're going to come, it's just going to end in failure and big misery. Not only that, but he writes in his diary, Yosselman, that when he heard that they're really over here and they're going to be crossing the bridge, coming into Regensburg, he picked himself up and he fled from here, not to be intertwined in this whole episode, and they shouldn't connect him in any way. So he picked himself up and he left. He shouldn't be over here, but he writes at the end what happened to Shlomo Molcho was he came, and the king said, "1 second, aren't you from Portugal? Yeah. Weren't you a Christian? Yeah." So he said, "Oh, then you have to. What are you doing being a Jew?" He sent him from here because there's no Inquisition. He sent him to Bologna in Italy, and there he had him killed on Kiddush Hashem. And Yosselman writes, the Rabbim that he helped a lot of Jews to become better Jews and be Balei Tshuva. But he writes that he died on Kiddush Hashem. He was a big tzaddik.